So actually, I would definitely have to applaud the government of Madhya Pradesh for being one of the leaders in combating malnutrition. Madhya Pradesh does have the highest rate of malnutrition, but also we've seen that both the Department of Health and the Department of Women and Child Development have really taken a lot of positive steps in order to combat that. You know, they've recognized the problem. They're not trying to hide it. Instead, what they're trying to do is to address it. And so one of the most positive things is that they've started what are called nutrition rehabilitation centers. They're called NRCs, and these are centers where children that have the most severe forms of malnutrition, what's called severe acute malnutrition, SAM, which is actually a medical condition. These are centers where these children who are so malnourished and also have other complications such as anemia or other infections or TB or malaria, these kids can be admitted into these centers for anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, where they receive a special diet which is called F100 and F75, which is actually it's a milk that's fortified with micronutrients and oil and sugar, and it's engineered so the children can rapidly gain weight. And so this has actually been responsible for saving thousands of kids. Because when a child gets to a stage when they are so malnourished, sometimes it actually can be dangerous just to give them too much food or give them too much fluid, because their bodies are in a state of being completely, out of whack, right? Their liver function is off, their bodily functions are off. And so what these NRCs do is they treat the underlying infections, and then they slowly help ease children back on to a normal diet, and help them to get on the stage where they can recover on their own. And so these centers, they keep the kids for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then once they've recovered, they come back every 2 weeks for 2 months to see if they're going to continue gaining weight. And at the same time that these children are being admitted, one of their parents also has to be admitted along with them. And so, just to be a caretaker. And so they also give intensive counseling to the mother or father or grandmother or older sibling about, why this child became malnourished. And then they try to address the underlying causes. And so the family understands why the kid became malnourished and how to prevent it in the long run. So the goal is that these kids, once admitted and, all the time and resources spent helping the kid recover, they don't become malnourished again. And so these have actually been extremely helpful. There's now, I think, over 260, 270 of these centers across MP, and now they're becoming a model for the rest of India. And what these centers also, do is they provide wage compensation for the parents as well, so that while they're there, they're not losing out on labor. And there's been a ton of resources that have been poured in by the government, by especially NRHM, but there's been a lot of success. And so now the government's, again, now considering starting to actually kind of do the same process, but in the community. And so the government of Madhya Pradesh has started what's called the Atal Bal something Progya mission. You can look it up on the website. It's called the Atal Bal Chief Minister's Child Nutrition Mission, where they're trying to cross over all sectors to address malnutrition. And they're going to be instituting what's called community-based therapeutic care, using what's called ready-to-use therapeutic food, which is kind of internationally recognized as the gold standard for treating malnutrition in the field. And so this is something that's been initiated by the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, along with the Department of Women and Child Development and the Department of Health. And so we're hoping soon to see this launched in the field, but this is going to, and they're going to be the first state to do this in India, and this is going to drastically change the face of malnutrition and save hundreds of thousands of lives once they start to, do this new program. ICDS is a good program, and I think it's, definitely well conceived. But, we do need to look at some innovations to help it function better. So when it works well, it works very well. But then in some other areas, there are some challenges in implementation.
Okay.
And so I think that a lot of partners and the government itself, ICDS is looking into ways that they can make it more efficient. So I think it's a great program that has a lot of actually underutilized potential. Midday meal scheme is targets children over the age of 5, so children that are already in school. So it's definitely a great program, but it's missing out on the kids that are most vulnerable to malnutrition, which is kids under 5 years old. So that's where ICDS comes in.
Okay.
But of course, midday meal is a great way to promote attendance in school, and it's great for kids in school.